Number four. Number four is the Woodside Plantation. Woodside Plantation. This is a little bit lengthy. The Woodside Plantation, erected in 1799, has seen its share of history. At one time, it was a cotton plantation with about 200 acres. There are at least 2 ghosts associated with Woodside, according to current owner Rick Ramser. After the Civil War ended, those plantation owners that survived the war had to find alternative means of supporting themselves. Dr. John Richardson, his wife Alice, daughter of Dr. Alexander Ramser, and their 5 children made their home at Woodside. They opened the house and land up to wealthy Northerners who made their way south on hunting trips. A young northern hunter, his name unknown, fell madly in love with Malvina Richardson, the youngest girl in the house. They planned a wedding to be held at Woodside, but before they could marry, the young man fell ill and died. Because his parents were traveling in Europe, a grave was prepared at a cemetery near Woodside. The day he was to be buried, a telegram arrived from a relative stating that the boy's body was to be returned to the north. When Malvina learned that her love would be taken from her, she told the gravediggers to leave the grave open. In a few days, Malvina was dead, and she was buried in her wedding dress in the grave intended for her fiancé. Apparently, Malvina had juvenile diabetes, Ramser said. The stress may have put her over the top, so there is a logical explanation. On many occasions, especially around the turn of the century, when most people around Lincolnton had heard of the story of Malvina, a woman dressed in a white dress was seen walking around the plantation and floating down the staircase in the Woodside. Alcohol may have been involved in a lot of these sightings, Ramser said with a laugh. When Ramser was young, he remembers that his grandparents had some trouble getting people to work at Woodside. One man said he heard fiddle music coming out of the music room and he didn't come back. He said in the early 1800s, a wealthy Frenchman, Lorenzo Fier, arrived in Lincolnton. Some theorize that Fier was really the famous pirate, I'm going to say Jean Lafitte. It's Geanlafitte, who fled the Yucatan and was never seen again. According to Ramser, Fier was hired to run Woodside while the owners stayed in town. One day, a former crew member recognized Fier and lured him to Woodside. There was a commotion one evening in an upstairs room, and the man was never seen again. The speculation that Fier killed him, chopped him up, and cremated him in the fireplace upstairs, Ramser said. Some people have seen the ghost of the seafaring man out on the road near Woodside. Fier is buried under a granite top table monument in St. Luke's churchyard. And so that is number 4. Now, the last one here is Lincoln Academy in Gastonia. Lincoln Academy in Gastonia. And so now I got this one from Hub Pages, and some other sources. I'm not going to go into all of them because that's some information I'll share with you in just a minute. But this is the Lincoln Academy in Gastonia. The history. This is the history. I'm going to give you a back history on it real quick. In 1884, Miss Emily Pruden, that's Prudden, bought 50 acres of land from Dr. Francis Garrett in an area called All Healing Springs, more commonly known today as the Crowder's Mountain, Gaston County area. The first building to be opened on the site was Pruden Hall, followed by 1888 by Lincoln Academy. The institute was a boarding school to educate poor and underprivileged African American girls, many of which graduated to become doctors, lawyers, and other professions. In 1955, Lincoln Academy was moved to Bessemer City, where it became Lincoln High School. and the original building at All Healing Springs was closed down. 20 years later, in the 1970s, a young lady, I'm going to withhold her name, was kidnapped and bound to a tree in the general vicinity where the Lincoln Academy building once stood, before being brutally murdered by two young men. Now, I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. Today, all that remains of Lincoln Academy is the cemetery located across the street and perhaps 100 yards or so from the school, as well as the remains of the legendary building, copper pipes amid a mass of brick foundation overtaken by trees, grass, weeds, and flowers that may have been the basement area of the building. About 200 yards from the school location, a local golf course was built and is in operation. Now, this is the haunt. This is what people are experiencing. Dozens of stories and experiences circulate about what sort of activity surrounds the Lincoln Academy. When documented sightings of mist and unexplainable smoke and fog, disembodied automobiles, sounds of children crying and laughing, whispers and feelings of being touched and tapped. We also took note of photographs that were taken by various people of a disembodied head and face appearing in the remains of an abandoned shack near the cemetery. Some say if you go there, do not stop on a bridge because your car will turn off and not start. Plus reports of a presence felt late at night and smoke going in a left to right direction instead of straight up like smoke normally does. Accounts of partying also originate from this location, as well as rumors of satanic worshiping, animal sacrifices, and cult gatherings. It says that on their investigation, it says, we have currently listed Lincoln Academy twice, we have currently visited Lincoln Academy twice, both times during daylight hours. Neither visit has brought very much enlightenment towards paranormal activity. However, we took extensive photographs of the school area and well as the cemetery, and we caught nothing out of the ordinary at either site. We are afraid that EVP, now that word EVP is electronic voice phenomena, the electronic voice phenomena. These are these little devices that people will usually carry. Anybody that's seen any type of ghost investigating show, they'll have these little devices in their hand and they'll record, and they'll kind of just speak into plain air. Hey, is there anybody that wants to talk to us? And later on, they will take these recordings and they'll put them through a computer program and see if they can get anything that the human ear cannot hear. And supposedly there have been numerous people, I have heard some of these recordings. It's quite spooky, to say the least. And so there's probably some scientific explanation for it. But, it's pretty amazing some of the things that they do get, and some of the, I guess you can say, some of the ideas that they think it could be. And so, but at any rate, it says, we are afraid that the EVP could be contaminated at any time due to the golf course location, as well as the small pond just through the woods below the cemetery that was home to a small group of vocal ducks. There was also a few homes located within sight of the cemetery that could interrupt EVP recordings. As of course, this is the electronic voice phenomena. If anything of loud sound were to be made from those locations, such as loud music, loud laughter, cars starting, horns honking, etc. So I will say this, if they're going to try to do this, it has to be absolutely dead quiet. I mean dead quiet. And so now, going back to that young lady that was supposedly abducted from that school, there was a commenter that knew the young lady. Now, I know what the young lady's name is, and I do know more details about how she was murdered. And because of respect for this young lady, because it appeared to be an actual real event, it actually really did happen. And so just for respect for this young lady, I'm not going to mention her name, and I'm not going to mention how she was killed. But this commenter said that She was actually abducted by two men from Georgia and brought to that location, and that location she was murdered. And so, but other than that, guys, that is all that I have. That is all 5 ghost stories from Lincoln County that I've been able to dig up.
The courthouse ghost story about the woman. Did they have any record of any woman or anything like?
Nothing. I haven't been able to find any background at all. Nothing at all. And I tried to find out what I could on it, and it was not much. Not much was found in there. But
well, I can't wait to see the picture.
Yeah. The pictures are quite amazing. It's really spooky to look at, and so. But
it's
guys,
glad you didn't work at that courthouse.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, I'm glad you know that last one, the Lincoln Academy in Gastonia, appears to be actually a Gaston County ghost story, and so we did go through a ghost story in Gaston County. It was the Farr Mansion.
Yeah,
the Farr Mansion.
The woman carrying the baby head and the human head.
Yeah, the Farr Mansion, and then the ghost town. That ghost town that's right there at it.
Yeah.
The same thing. And so you guys get a chance to check out Gaston County ghost stories. And so, but yeah, looks like we had a Gaston County ghost story slip into the Lincoln County one.
Well, they're so close.
Yeah, it don't matter. It's still in North Carolina. That's the main thing. Anyway, guys, we hope you've enjoyed it. Be looking out for the next one. And you guys take care. We love you.
Good
And
night.
y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.